so we were discussing this decision problem, whether a graph has an Eulerian circuit or not, right? And towards the end of last lecture, we discussed one of Euler's theorems, which says that the graph G has an Eulerian circuit if and only if, one, it is connected, and two, each vertex has even degree. This is the more important condition. Every vertex having even degree. Connected is kind of obvious. So, does anybody have a proof or explanation or algorithm? Can anybody sort of summarize how one can prove this?
Yeah. So
Hi.
proving one way, if if every node in the graph has an even degree.
Yeah.
So the other way first. So
Other way.
suppose the graph has a Eulerian circuit, then we
Right.
know that for every vertex, there's
Yeah.
every time the circuit passes through that vertex, there's an edge coming into it and an edge outgoing.
Right.
This is true even for the start vertex of the circuit. So
Right.
for since there's an incoming and outgoing edge for every time it passes through, each vertex will have an even degree.
Right. That's right. So let me just summarize this one. Thanks, Samuel. So Samuel says that if a graph has an Eulerian circuit, then if you look at any vertex, then what must happen is that whenever you enter the vertex, you can think of starting the Eulerian circuit at some point, right? So whenever you enter the vertex, you also have to leave the vertex, right? And you want to use all the edges, which means each time you enter, you have to use a new edge because that is a property of Eulerian circuit. You have to use each edge exactly once, but then you must also leave that vertex using another edge, right? And so if you are going to enter the vertex k times, you're also going to leave the vertex k times. And so that means that you have 2k edges. And since you are using all the edges exactly once, 2k is exactly the number of edges. Okay? I'm not going to write a formal proof of this. This is supposed to be a warm-up, so you should write a formal proof of this. And the one point that we should consider is why is it true that any vertex is the same as the starting vertex? You see, supposing you started at vertex 1, right? It doesn't really matter. When you finish the circuit, actually you can think of any vertex as a start back to it. It's really artificial.
Your voice is breaking.
My voice is breaking. Hello?
Yeah, it broke down.
Now it's okay?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. Right. So that's the proof of why each vertex has to have even degree. Right? Yeah.
Now,
Is there a question?
no, never mind.
Okay. So now let's go to the other direction. But before we go to the other direction, I want to introduce some definitions, which are, I'm not going to write formal definitions. I'm going to just give you examples. So we will prove this other direction as well. But before that, I want to tell you about three concepts: a walk, a trail, and a path. Okay? And the difference between them is going to be whether you can repeat a vertex or repeat an edge or not. So what is a path? We all already know what a path is, right? A path basically looks like this. So if I have a graph 1, 2, 3, 4, a path could be, for example, 1 to 2 to 3, or if you like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, right? That could be a path. or it could be 1 to 4 to 3 to 2, right? So that's a path. What is a trail? In a trail, you can repeat. So in a path, you can't repeat a vertex and you can't repeat an edge. Okay? What is a trail? In a trail, you can repeat a vertex, but you can't repeat an edge. So let me give you an example. I could go from 1 to 2. 2 to 4, then I could go back to 1 using this other edge, 4, 1, and then I could go from 1 to 3, for example. Right, so let's see what this looks like. So if you trace this trail out, you go from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 1. Notice that we are repeating the vertex, but we are not repeating any edge, and then from 1 to 3. Right? So that is what a trail is. Okay. And right, so this is a trail. Clearly, a path is also a trail, but a walk is a more general thing. In a walk, you can basically do whatever you like. Okay, so you can just keep repeating vertices, edges as many times you like. I could go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 2 to 1 to 3. I know this is a complete graph, so all edges exist. So basically, I don't care how I label things. 1 to 2, whatever. This is a walk. Okay, so in a walk, you can repeat. So in a trail, you can repeat a vertex, but you can't repeat any edge. And in a walk, you can repeat whatever you like. You might say, well, how does one remember these definitions? I like to think that it is kind of intuitive if you think about it this way. Is if you go for a morning walk, you basically don't care. You just walk whatever way you like. You know, you go for a walk in the park, you keep coming to the same point, you keep taking the same roads, and that's what a walk is. If you are into hiking and you're going to go to trails, you know, you take each trail once, but you often come back to the same point and then take another trail from that point. So that's the way I see it. In a trail, you can keep coming to the same intersection point, the vertex, but you never repeat the same edge. And a path is, yeah, it's just, you can't repeat either of them. You just go from one point to another point. There is no need to repeat any point. Okay? So what is an Eulerian circuit? An Eulerian circuit is actually a closed trail. So a circuit, in this sense, is actually a closed trail. What do I mean by closed? The starting and ending vertex are the same. Start vertex equal to end vertex. Right? So that's what a circuit is. And what is an Eulerian circuit? Now that we have all these terms, an Eulerian circuit is a closed trail that uses each edge of the graph. Remember, in a trail, you cannot repeat. So this automatically means that each edge is used exactly once. Okay? Okay, so now let's go back to our theorem, the Euler's theorem. So what we discussed is that we proved one direction. That if a connected graph, well, one direction would be, if a graph has an Eulerian circuit, then it is connected We actually did not prove the connected part, but I will leave that to you. That's not difficult. And each vertex has even degree. Okay? The slightly harder part is to prove the other direction. So supposing these two facts are true, if G is a connected graph with each vertex having even degree, then G has an Eulerian circuit. So how would we prove this? Actually, I would like more or less any proof you come up with is essentially going to be an algorithmic proof. So what you would do is you would take a connected graph with each vertex having even degree, and then you would come up with an algorithm that finds an Eulerian circuit, right? And you prove that the algorithm is correct, and therefore the graph has an Eulerian circuit, right? So most proofs are constructive. In fact, most proofs in graph theory tend to be constructive. Most proofs are constructive in the sense that they actually tell you how to get the Eulerian circuit. Okay, it's not existential. It doesn't just tell you that there exists an Eulerian circuit. It actually tells you how to find one. So can anybody explain how we would go about this?
Yeah.
Maybe someone else?
We can start with any any vertex, follow an edge,
Okay.
we reach another vertex. And since
Okay.
there will be now odd options, since we used one to reach that particular vertex, we'll choose one of those options and then we continue till we cover all the vertices.
I see. I see. That's the idea is correct. There could be an issue though. Let's see. Supposing,
Sir, I think we need to use induction, sir. We prove it by induction.
right. So we will, let's proceed on the idea and then combine it with induction. And that will actually solve the problem. So let's just, so let's take a quick example. Why this idea by itself does not suffice. Why we need to do something a bit more. Okay, so supposing we have this graph, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So let's see what happens if we just follow the first point, right? Let's see, draw. So supposing I just start at some vertex arbitrarily, I start at 1, let's say. 1, 2, 3, I keep doing this. Now I keep going like this. Now what happens if I come here? Now you see at this point, I have used all the edges incident at vertex 1. Now I cannot proceed anywhere further, right? So that idea by itself does not work because now you're stuck. So this is where we realize that we use induction, right? So can you explain, Achyut, how you would use induction? Can anyone explain how to use induction now?
It's basically take as many cycles out.
Sorry?
If you could get something like the thing you draw with red, so take
Yeah.
that out and repeat again.
Right. So let's take out. So what we are going to do is, what we did is we started at some vertex. Thank you. So we started at some vertex and we just keep following edges that have not been traversed so far, right? And you could have repetitions. For example, something like this could happen. But the point is, if you get stuck, you have to get stuck at the first vertex. Because for every other vertex, you enter once, there must be another edge where you can leave, because there is an even degree. So you can never get stuck at an arbitrary vertex. You will always get stuck, if at all, at the first vertex. Because the first vertex you already started, and now when you come back, it is possible that you have used up all the edges, right? For any other vertex, because of the even degree, you always know that if you are able to reach that vertex, you should also be able to leave that vertex using an edge that has not been used so far, right? So if you get stuck at the first vertex, like what happened in this case, then what you do is you apply induction. You remove these edges from the graph. You remove all these edges. Notice that at each vertex, you will be removing an even number of edges. So the graph is still going to be having the property that each vertex has even degree. The graph may not have the connected property. In this example, actually, the graph has the connected property as well. But I could make the example slightly more complicated to show you why the connected property may not hold. Let me put an additional, let me make the example slightly more complex. Supposing this was vertex 3, supposing there is another stuff like this, number 13 and number 14. Now you see, if you remove all these red edges, what will happen is, this is going to be a disconnected component. 3, so what happens when you remove all these edges? Let's try to remove all the edges. I'm going to remove the edges, but not the vertices. If I remember correctly, we had gone like this. There is a vertex 6 here, right? So we started from 1, we went to 2, to 3, to 6. Yeah, that's a bit confusing, sorry. Okay. So we are back to where we were. So if you remove, I'm just going to redraw the graph. Okay. So what happens when you remove these edges? You've got 1, 2, 3. You've got this part 13, 14 here. Actually, 1 and 2 are also disconnected components. You've got, this is 3. There is a vertex 6 here. Okay. Am I missing anything? If I'm missing anything, just let me know. I will also draw all the vertices because we have not removed the vertices, right? Okay. So let me know if I missed any vertex or edge. I just wanted to delete the red stuff.
712.
Okay. Which one? Sorry, which
There's an
one?
edge from 7 to 12.
712. Thank you. Good. Right. I put that one. Now, is there anything missing? Okay, good. So now notice that each vertex still has even degree, right? Why is that? You can think about it, okay? So each vertex still has even degree. What you have removed is a closed circuit. Just to keep in mind, the red stuff that we drew was a closed circuit. When you remove a closed circuit from a graph, sorry, by closed circuit, I just mean a circuit, a closed trail, right? When you remove a closed trail from a graph, you're basically removing an even number of edges from each vertex, which could be 0 in some case. And so because all the vertices have even degree, the graph that you get still has the property that each vertex has even degree. but the graph may not be connected anymore. As you can see here, this graph is not connected, right? The original graph is connected, but the new graph G prime is not connected. But that's okay. What you can now do is for each component, you can do induction. Each component has the property that the vertex has even degree, and each vertex, it is a component, so it's connected. And so now you can find an Eulerian circuit in each component by induction. Okay, so this is a proof by induction, and we will see proofs by induction many times in this course. It is actually going to be one of the most common ways of proving theorems. So for example, this is a component, this is an Eulerian circuit. Now, so I'm not, right? I know by induction this is a smaller graph, and so each of these graphs is going to have an Eulerian circuit. Right? For example, I can go like this, I can go like this, like this, like this, and I come back here. Okay? But of course, this I got stuck here, so I shouldn't have taken that path. So the thing is, when you do induction, you are not repeating the whole algorithm again, right? You just know by induction that the property is true, right? So let's go like this. Okay, so now you have an Eulerian circuit by induction. This one has an Eulerian circuit. This component here has an Eulerian circuit. And now because the original graph is connected, what you will do is you will combine these three Eulerian circuits, the red one, the blue one, and the green one, and you will get one Eulerian circuit. Okay? And I will leave that detail to you. But the main point is, because the graph is connected, since G is connected, you can combine red, blue, and green to get one Eulerian circuit for the graph G. This is the main point. This is where you use the graph, use the fact that the graph is connected. Okay? So are there any questions about how we prove this? How you would write a formal proof like that? That you should be able to do. That's a warm-up exercise. No? Everybody is on the same page?
So the induction is on the number of vertices in the graph?
That's a good point. What do you think? You think it's number of vertices is a good way to go, or should we use some different parameter?
Here, number of edges, no sir, here actually, like, isn't that?
Right, so number of edges works very clearly, right? Because you are definitely removing some edges. So definitely the smaller graphs you get, they will have smaller number of edges than the original graph. The number of vertices is a bit tricky, right? Is it possible to use number of vertices, or is it not possible?
Because every time you're removing the start vertex. Since if we can't continue the circuit, that means all the edges in the start vertex have been exhausted. So you can remove that vertex.
That is true. That is true. So the reason we get stuck is because we came back to the first vertex, the starting vertex, and now we are not able to take any edge from there. So when we remove all the edges, the start vertex will be an isolated vertex, and so every component will be smaller than the original graph. So that is true. You can use induction by vertices as well, but that seems to require a little bit of explanation. Whereas the induction by edges, on edges, is more straightforward. You don't need any explanation at all, but both of them are correct. Okay? Thanks. Any other questions?
So I think when you're doing induction using vertices, if you just remove only the start vertex, it won't be sufficient because you will have to remove all the edges within the component, the circuit that you get after getting stuck at the start vertex. Otherwise, in your example itself, if you just remove the start vertex 1, then
Okay.
2 and 3 will end up with an odd degree.
No, so I'm not removing the start vertex. I'm still removing edges only. We are not going to remove vertices. We will still remove edges. So what we did is we removed the red colored edges, right? And
Yeah.
now we are looking at all the components of the graph after removing the red color edges. So just to make it clear, supposing the red color edges is F. Okay, so F is the set of red colored edges in this example. Then I'm looking at the graph G minus F. The claim is that G minus F is going to be disconnected. Otherwise, we would have not stopped at this point. The claim is that the start vertex, vertex 1, the start vertex is an isolated vertex. What do I mean by isolated vertex? Vertex that is not connected to any other vertex. Is an isolated vertex in G minus F. So that is the claim. And if that is true, so that we need to make sure that it is true. So maybe that is where the confusion is. But if that is true, then we are done. Because if it is an isolated vertex, then it means that every other component of the graph is going to have fewer vertices than the original graph. Because one vertex is isolated. Right? So if the original graph has 14 vertices, one of the vertices is now an isolated component. So every other vertex, every other component has at most 13 vertices. And we are doing induction on these smaller, when we do induction, we are going to look at these smaller components. Each component is a connected graph where each vertex has even degree. And because the number of vertices has gone down, we can apply induction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So both of these work, right? So induction on vertices and edges both work. Induction on, by the way, this is going to be number of edges of the graph because this is the edges of the edge set of the graph. And this is going to be the vertex set of a graph and this is going to be its cardinality. So in this example, both of these work. But sometimes only one of them might work, right? So some other examples we see in the future, maybe only induction on edges or induction on vertices works.
I didn't get the concept of induction on edges and induction on vertices. What is the difference actually? I want to
Right.
know.
So when you do a proof by induction, what's important is that you have a parameter on which you are inducting, right? So for example, if you do standard induction proofs, you might have seen is using integers. How do you prove that the sum of I going from 1 to n is equal to n times n plus 1 over 2, right? So what you're doing here is you're doing a proof by induction on n. So you prove for some value k and then you try to prove for k plus 1, right? But in graph theory, you have to be slightly careful. You can't go from k to k plus 1. Generally in graph theory, you have to take a big graph, you have to remove some stuff from it and get a smaller graph which has all the properties of the original graph. Okay? So in this example, when we remove the red colored edges, we get smaller components. This is our first component, G1, and this green stuff is our second component, G2. Both of these, G1 and G2, are connected graphs. G2 is a connected graph, for example, and each vertex has even degree. Okay? So it satisfies the original hypothesis. Remember, our original hypothesis was you have a connected graph, each vertex having even degree. So both of these smaller graphs satisfy the induction, satisfy the hypothesis.
Yeah.
But when I say smaller, when I say these are smaller graphs, what exactly do I mean? Is it as per the number of vertices or is it as per the number of edges? One of these, generally speaking, you could also use some other parameters, but generally we will be doing induction on number of vertices or number of edges. One of these quantities at least has to go down. If
Okay.
both of these quantities remain the same, then in some sense you can't do induction. I mean, that is more or less a true statement, because most proofs in this course, we will be doing induction on number of vertices or on number of edges, right? But this should not be set in stone. That is what I mean.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now is it clear? One of
Yeah.
these quantities has to go down.
Yeah.
And so what we are saying is that in this particular example, both of these quantities are going down. The number of vertices also goes down, number of edges also goes down. So you can
Okay.
prove by induction on either of them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But in your proof, you must argue that this quantity is going down, right? So that is an important part of writing a proof.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, so just to do a quick summary, what we did is we started with two problems, Hamiltonian cycle and Eulerian circuit. Both problems are in NP because I can just show you a Hamiltonian cycle or an Eulerian circuit, and then this is it, right? This convinces you that the graph has a Hamiltonian cycle or an Eulerian circuit. So both problems are in NP, the decision problems. But only one of them is in co-NP, which is Eulerian circuit, because Euler's theorem tells you that all you need to check is that the graph is connected and that each vertex has even degree. This you can easily check. And this means that the graph has an Eulerian circuit by the theorem, right? So now you can convince anyone that a graph does not have an Eulerian circuit. How would you convince them? Either you show them that the graph is not connected, or you show them that there is a vertex of odd degree, right? So this will convince anybody that the graph does not have an Eulerian circuit. This means that the problem, the Eulerian circuit problem, decision problem, is in co-NP. But there is no such theorem for Hamiltonian cycles. So the Hamiltonian cycle problem is not known to be in co-NP. Okay? And when we proved the theorem, when we discussed the proof of the theorem, we actually came up with an algorithm, right? This is actually the standard algorithm. I forget the name of this algorithm. Something from H, Holzig's algorithm or something. Anyways, so this is exactly the algorithm, one of the algorithms, using which you can find an Eulerian circuit. So the problem is also in P. But the Hamiltonian circuit problem is of course not in P because it is not even in co-NP, right? So quickly, this decision problem is in P, and we know P is a subset of NP intersection co-NP. And so it is also in NP and co-NP because we discussed the Euler's theorem. And this problem, on the other hand, is in NP, but not known to be in co-NP or in P. Okay. Oh, sorry. I meant the decision problem, not this signboards problem. But anyways, you get the point. Okay. So I should have actually written it here. Okay. So if everything is good so far, we are going to switch to module 1. Any questions before we switch to module 1?
Sir, in exams and all, obviously the formal proofs would be accepted. So, like, can you share some examples of formal writings with us so that we can like come up with our own? Or
That's right. That's right. Don't worry about that. So that's a good point. We will write formal proofs in module 1. I will not write all of the formal proofs. I will write some formal proofs so that you get an idea. And I will be sharing type notes which will have more formal proofs. But in the lectures, I will not be covering too many formal proofs. I will try to focus more on the intuition, but I will give you some examples so that you have an idea of how a formal proof is written. Right? But I don't want to compromise on the intuition for the sake of formal proof. So I'm going to strike a balance between the two. Right. Um, Connectivity. Okay. And we are going to deal with edge connectivity today. Maybe I shouldn't have written that, but anyways, it's okay. Let me put rule lines. Insert. Okay. Can everybody see the new sheet?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Good. So let's just go to connected graphs. I never formally defined things, but you probably got the idea. You see, this is not a connected graph. But on the other hand, this one is a connected graph, right? So G1 not connected and G2 is connected, right? And the main, one way to define a connected graph is simply that connected just means that there exists a path between any two vertices, right? I can say a lot about connected graphs, but I assume that you have seen these things in an elementary course on discrete mathematics or graph theory, right? Can anybody tell me whether this graph is connected or not? No, right? Not connected.
Not connected.
Because this graph is the same as this graph. Don't let the drawing fool you. Right? And now it is very clear that it is not connected. Okay? So not connected. Or otherwise, I might also say disconnected graph. Okay? Good. So, okay, so this is very straightforward, right? Whether a graph is connected or not is very straightforward. But if you want to design some kind of road network or even some kind of, I don't know, some kind of computer network, you would like the graph to be somewhat well connected. What do I mean? For example, if you want to go from Adyar Gate to Taramani Gate, right? If you want to go from Adyar Gate to Taramani Gate, if there was a particular segment of the road such that if this segment is broken, let's say there is construction going on, then you can no longer go from Adyar Gate to Taramani Gate. This is a bit problematic, right? Because then you basically cannot do construction on the campus very easily, right? So even in a university campus, you would like that you can go from any point to any other point such by at least two different ways. Or in other words, you would like that the failure of a single segment or a single edge does not destroy the connectivity of the graph, right? Or a single vertex does not destroy the connectivity of a graph, right? So this leads to different notions of connectivity. One notion of connectivity is that we are going to discuss is edge connectivity. And another notion is vertex connectivity. These are two standard notions that we will be discussing. There are other notions of connectivity, but we won't be discussing them in this course. We will be discussing these two, right? So now I would like to ask a question. Supposing you have a graph G you delete a vertex or you delete an edge, which one of these is simpler to think about? Deleting a vertex or deleting an edge? Which one do you think is intuitively simpler to think about, or is somehow conceptually simpler?
Deleting a
Deleting an edge.
Deleting an edge, exactly. Deleting an edge is much simpler because if you delete a vertex, you have to delete all the edges incident with it. But if you delete an edge, you can keep all the vertices of the graph, you just remove that edge, right? So in that sense, edge connectivity, I would argue, is a somewhat simpler notion to deal with. And so we will start with edge connectivity. Okay? Good. All right. Let me just take a look at my notes. Okay. So the first concept we are going to discuss is the concept of two-edge connectedness. So what I want is that even if I delete any edge of the graph should remain connected. Okay? So a connected graph is two-edge connected if, let me say connected graph G, if G minus E is connected for each edge of the graph, right? So what this is saying is that if you delete any edge of the graph still remains connected. Okay, so let's start with an example. Is this graph two-edge connected?
No.
No.
Why?
If you remove 3, 6, it's not
Remove
connected.
3, 6. Exactly. So if you remove 3, 6, the graph disconnects. Right? And so this graph is not two-edge connected. Okay? Why is it called two-edge connected? Another way to think about this is that a graph is a connected graph is two-edge connected if one needs to delete at least two edges to disconnect it. One needs to delete at least two edges to obtain a disconnected graph. Right? This is equivalent to the first definition. Good? All right. Okay. So let's bring one more definition. A cut edge of the graph. So for a connected graph, okay, I should mention one thing. I will generally not talk about disconnected graphs because disconnected graphs are generally not very interesting. In other words, most theorems in graph theory, either you can replace graph by connected graph and the statement is still true, or vice versa, or you can make a minor modification and the statement will still be true. I'll give you concrete examples in the next lecture, right? But generally speaking, we are not going to be concerned with disconnected graphs too much, right? I'll elaborate more about this on next lecture. I want to end this lecture with a question, so let me get there. For a connected graph G, an edge E is a cut edge if G minus E is disconnected. Okay, so in this example, you can actually easily verify that E is the only cut edge. If you remove any other edge, the graph will not get disconnected. Okay? So in other words, a connected graph is two edge connected. I will just write this abbreviation for two edge connected. If and only if G does not have any cut edge. Okay? I have so far not said anything really novel, right? I mean, these are just straightforward definitions and observations. So here is a question that I want to end this lecture with. I want you all to think of a graph, or more interestingly, graphs, in which each edge is a cut edge. Okay? I don't want the answer right now. If you have the answer, that's okay. But I want everybody to think about this question. You can assume, of course, that the graph is connected because I'm defining everything for connected graphs. So think of a connected graph or connected graphs in which every single edge is a cut edge. Okay? I will tell you this. You have seen these graphs a lot in many of your computer science courses. Somebody already posted the answer, which was unnecessary because I wanted everybody to think about it. So try not to look at the chat box and think about it on your own. Okay? So let's end the lecture here. And if there are any questions, I will stay back for about 10 minutes and you can ask me any questions you may have. Okay? See you all on Monday. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Hello, sir.
Hi. How are you?
I'm fine. I have a doubt.
Yeah.
So in the proof you mentioned about induction on vertices and edges.
Right.
So in case of vertices,
Yeah.
can you guarantee that there will be isolated vertex? No, right?
Right. That's a good point. So,
I mean,
right. Yeah.
yeah. Tell me.
So how would we guarantee that? Can you try to think about it? So think about the way our algorithm works. I mean, I have also not thought through this completely. So that is so let's see, why would a vertex, what about the starting vertex? Is it possible that the starting vertex is not isolated?
We have to think about such graphs. I mean, graphs in which every vertex has more than 2 degree and even degree.
Right.
I mean, if it is possible, then we can say that you cannot directly prove it by induction.
Right. So let's think about our algorithm, right? So our proof is actually an algorithmic proof, or if you like, a constructive proof, right? So what are we doing? We start at any arbitrary vertex. So this is an arbitrary vertex, right? And what is our hypothesis? We have a connected graph. G is a connected graph, and each vertex has even degree, right? You agree?
Yes.
Okay. So what we are doing is we are starting at an arbitrary vertex and we are going to build a trail, right? We are going to pick an edge, then we come to a new vertex, we pick another edge, right? We pick another edge. Of course, the vertices may repeat. So what could happen is you pick an edge and you go like this, right?
Yes.
Then you pick another edge, you go like this. You pick an edge, maybe you come back to this guy, then you go back somewhere, right? So the claim is that you keep doing this, right? You keep building. So we keep building a trail, right?
Yes.
The claim is that when does this stop? So the question is, when can we not build the trail anymore? Let's think about this.
Okay.
When can we not build the trail anymore?
Okay, understood. Fine.
Are you good? Are you
Yeah,
good?
I got it.
So what is the answer? What do you think is the answer?
Since we started at the starting vertex, if let's say it has still edges left, you can still take a path and the trail can continue. So finally, the initial point will be exhausted of its vertices, edges.
Right, right. Let me ask you a slightly different question. Can I stop building a trail at an arbitrary vertex? So
No, only at the initial vertex, because since hello,
other than
I can't hear you.
why?
Your voice is breaking.
Why can we not? Why can we not stop at some other vertex?
Since if we can enter using one edge, we can exit using the corresponding edge, since it is a even degree vertex. So even number of
Right.
edges. Yeah.
Right. Since each vertex has even degree, if you are able to come to that vertex, if you are able to arrive at that vertex, you must also be able to depart from that vertex.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is always an edge that you have not used because there is an even number of edges. The
Yes.
only point where this is not applicable is the initial vertex. The initial vertex you just departed. So at some point, you will come back at that point, at that vertex, and then you may not be able to proceed any further.
Yeah, understood.
Right? So, okay, so that's fine. I'll just write down the claim for everybody else who is still here.
If we have to extend the trail such that we can't extend it anymore. That's the basic idea.
Exactly. If we are not able to build the trail any further, if we are not able to build the trail any further, we must be at the start vertex, start or initial vertex, and we must have exhausted, or we must have used up all edges incident at the start vertex. This is the claim. So you prove this, and then you can proceed by induction either on number of vertices or on number of edges.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? I'm still here for another 10 minutes. Don't worry about it. So if anybody has questions, I'm going to keep answering them. Anyone? Samuel, you have a question?
No, sir.
Okay, thanks. I'm waiting to have a discussion with the TAs. So if you don't have a question, then proceed to leave, please. But
Yeah, okay, fine.
okay. So I guess now it's just me and the TAs, right? Oh, okay. I should stop recording. Stop recording.